Jai Gurudev. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Yeah, so Bhagwan actually says, he starts off saying, there are so many of my glories, but I'm going to tell you the important ones. So that takes care of all the possible doubts that one might have. Why is he singling out someone? Why is he singling out only Vishnu of the Adityas and things like that? So he makes it very clear in the beginning itself that he is, his glories are infinite, but he's just going to tell the important ones. And it's beautiful the way he, the 20th shloka that Ramana Maharshi started off.
Yeah, that one is really beautiful.
Yeah. I actually checked on the net. It's called, Nana said it's Dvichattvarimshat. As soon as Nana shares it, I will put it in the group so we can take a look at that. That would be the gist of maybe just the concoction of the whole Gita that Ramana Maharshi has.
The one he liked and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so 14, 42.
Yeah. Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarva Bhutashayastitaha Ahamadischa Madhyancha Bhutanam Anta Evacha. So Gudakesha, master of sleep, Aham Atma, I am the self. Sarva Bhutashaya Stitaha, one who resides in the hearts of all beings. Aham, I am, Bhutanam, all beings and things. Anything? Is there a Adihi, the cause of creation, Madhyancha, and the sustenance, Anta Evacha, and resolution. So I am the self who resides in the hearts of all beings. And I am the cause of the creation, sustenance, and resolution of all beings or things. This is again a contemplative shloka that
there are two more people who are called Gudakeshas. One of them is Lakshmana. I am not remembering the third one. Because even during the Vanvasa, Lakshmana had not slept. So he had the mastery over the sleep. And there is one more person, but I'm not remembering his name.
I don't know. Maybe Nana will know.
I think Lord Hanuman.
Yeah, I think so. I was vaguely remembering, but I didn't say because I was not sure.
Yeah. Adityanam aham Vishnu Jyotisham Ravi Ramshuman Marichir Marutamasmi Nakshatranam aham Shashi. So we are getting a taste of the Puranas over here, apart from Bhagwan's Vibhutis. Adityanam, of the 13 wives of Kashyapa, Diti, Aditi, they were all daughters of Daksha Prajapati, and the sons born to Aditi were called Adityas. And there were how many? 12 Adityas, is it?
Yeah.
It'll be good to write these down. I don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
12
didn't write it
Adityas.
down, but the names were so fast. But I heard the
12
name Rudra also
Adityas.
on the 12 Adityas, but then the
They're there in
11.
the PDF. The names of the Adityas, the Vasus, the Rudras, they're all given in the PDF. So,
8 Vasus, 11 Rudras, and
12
12 Adityas. And
Yeah.
Maricha, how many
49
Maricha he said? 49.
49. 49.
Yeah.
49. Yeah.
See, being in the Sanatana Dharma
Maruta.
Huh?
Maruta, it was, no?
Maruta. 49, yeah. Maruts. So it'll be good for us to have some knowledge of this, if not for anything else. Of course, it's not going to really help us in the Vedanta knowledge, but culture, tradition wise, it is nice to know that we've been exposed to this. So Vishnu and Jyotisham among the luminaries and the sun, and of the luminaries in the night, seen at night, I am the moon. Vedanam samavedosmi devanam asmi vasavaha indriyanam manaschasmi bhutanam asmi chetana. So among the Vedas, Samavedaha asmi, I am Samaveda. Devanam, among the gods, Vasavaha asmi, I am Indra. Indriyanam, among the sense organs, Manaha asmi, I am the mind. Bhutanam cha, and of the embodied beings, Chetana asmi, I am the faculty of cognition. Among the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Among the gods, I am Indra. Among the sense organs, I am the mind. And of the embodied beings, I am the faculty of cognition. Which is so true here, in that if not for the mind, we would not be even able to speak, talk, perceive. Like if you just take the mind off, the Stula Sharira off from the mind and the Buddhi, it is nothing but a bag of, what do you say? A hollow and empty bag. So it is the consciousness that gives through the mind and buddhi that makes it alive, the prana, and makes it alive. Rudranam Shankaraschasmi Vittesho Yaksharakshasam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Meruhu Shikarinamaham. So among the Rudras, I am Shankara. Shankara is Shamkaroti, the one who brings in auspiciousness, who does good. Vitteshaha Kubera, I am the Lord of wealth of the Yaksha Rakshasam. And Vasunam, among the Vasus, I am Pavakaha, the
So this
purifier.
Shankara is different from the Shiva, like, or they're calling Shiva.
Yeah, I think
Shankara.
that is left to speculation, because the names can be, there are quite a few overlapping names, like even amongst the Adityas, Vishnu is there. So maybe it is okay for us to take it as it comes, and not really tease it into and find out whether is this the same Shankara or Shiva.
No, it's not like the in Aditya also he said the name Rudra.
Correct.
So I'm
correct.
wondering, this
Yeah.
Rudra is
Even I
different
had a
from
doubt,
the other Rudra. Yeah.
but Nana had mentioned that there are some overlaps. Like even that Twashta is mentioned as Rudra, as Aditya. He's also mentioned among the Rudras. So maybe there are some.
It's like the same energy, but
Mm,
in different forms. The Shankara is a Shiva energy, but in different forms. Like Vishnu in different forms, like Krishna, and he has taken different avatars. I think it is somewhat like that.
yeah. There's the different manifestations of the same energy, which have different roles to play. Like Vishnu has the role of sustenance, Brahma is the role of creating, and Shankara or Shiva is the role of dissolution. So similarly, like with the Kubera, the Lord of Wealth, he's like taking care of, he's the financer of the whole universe. So I guess that therefore I'm not very sure whether this Shankara is the same as Shiva. And among the Vasus, I am Pavaka, fire, the purifier. And Meru Aham Shikarinam, among the snow-peaked mountains. So Rudras, Nana said there were Brahma Manasa Putras, right? There are 11 of them. And the Vasus were, he mentioned that story of the Vasus, but I think I missed a part of that story.
Is it 7, I think? Is it 7 or 8?
8 Vasus.
Vasus.
8 Vasus, yeah.
Brahmaji created them to have this universe, but the Vasus were too sattvic. They didn't want to produce any children of their own. So there is a story I don't remember, but Brahmaji had created them to create more children from them.
Yeah, Nana talked about that Prabhas, and I lost the train somewhere, so I'm not able to recollect that completely. Maybe we should listen to it again. But what I remember is that they come to Mother Ganges and request her. They're cursed, I think, for something that they
No,
have
that
to
is
give birth.
that is
Yeah,
later part. That is
the
later part when
Vasishtha,
the wife asked, when one of the
Yeah.
wives, Prabhasa's wife asked for the Kamadhenu Nandini
Nandini,
cow.
yeah.
Yeah, that's when he's cursed, and that's why he had to live on the earth. He cannot escape. The other 7 escape, like they die and then they come to.
No, that is later, right? But they took
That
the
is later.
Nandini and went. So
That is later.
the Vasishtha cursed them that they had to be born again, and that's why the
correct. But they were with the purpose to have more lives on the earth. But they refuse to do that. That's why Brahmaji gets angry with them, and there is some story behind it. I'm not remembering.
What is amazing is see how everything is linked, no, through these stories. See, because the Vasus had to take birth, they approach Mother Ganges, and she tells Shantanu that he cannot question her, and therefore 7 of them, one after the other, she just drowns them. So when you just look at that, it seems as if Mother Ganges is very cruel, but actually it's linked to their to their karma, to their curse. So it's all so interlinked. Everything is so beautifully linked.
It can be interlinked to our lives also, because we might see things unfair, but we can relate these things to our lives also.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So when things are happening, it is only because of the play and interplay of different karmas that, that are manifesting different. So that is why, coming back to karma yoga again, taking everything as prasada, whatever is happening in your life, good or bad.
Yeah, even the demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they were not the Danavas, but they had to redeem their karmas. That's why they took birth. They created so much of karma, and then they had to get killed.
Mm.
See, it's all
No,
big-
I think Vishnu gives them a choice of either being his
Yes.
bhaktas for
yeah.
thousands of years or
Mm.
his enemies for
Mm.
how many years? I'm not sure that number of years. That number that
10
number of
births.
years. 10 births.
10
10
births as bhakta and 3 births as
Yes,
enemy.
And,
Yeah,
yeah,
3 births
enemy.
as enemy.
So they prefer to take the shorter routes. They said, it doesn't matter, we want to come back to you soon. So we prefer the 3 births as your enemies.
correct.
So when you look at that, actually then that the opposite values are complementary makes it even more evident. So they are not actually enemies. They had no choice but to be there.
Yeah. Same with Shani Maharaj. He's there
Yeah.
to get rid of your karmas.
Nice. So it is nice. It's nice story time. I think in the Vibhuti Yoga, chapter 10, we get to listen to a lot of stories and our rich culture. I thought Meru was Kailash, but Nana said maybe it is Mount Everest. So we don't know that.
The tallest peak in the whole world. Somewhere I heard it was Vindhyas. No. Vindhyas, it's there, but it's among all the mountains, the Everest peak is the highest.
No, correct. There's no doubt that Everest is the highest. The thing is, whether Meru means Mount Everest or is it Mount Kailash?
Well, so far that
I think it is
know,
Everest.
Meru is Everest. Yeah,
Not the
Himalaya
Kailash.
is
It's
called
abode
Meru.
of Shiva.
Shiva.
The Kailash is abode of Shiva.
Yeah.
Right.
That, when, I remember, is that in Ramayana where the Hanuman goes to bring that Siranjeevi, right, from Meru Malai? I don't know. They
Sanjeevani.
call it as
Yeah.
Meru. Yeah, Meru Malai, that's what they call it.
If that is the case, then it is Vindhya. If that is the case, it is Vindhya.
Vindhya?
He goes to Meru because he goes to.
But that is what Nana had
Nashik
mentioned in the Puranas. There are so many as though controversies where they don't, you cannot really logically say this is how it is. No, so maybe we should just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Anyway, for us, it doesn't matter. It is Meru, whether it is Vindhya or it is Mount Everest. It is one of the vibhutis. So it is one of the of the infinite vibhutis. That's just one. It's just a representation. So we need to take the bigger picture. So yesterday we reached up to shloka number 70 in chapter 2. The previous 69th verse was Yanisha Syam Jagrati Bhutani Sanisha Pashyato Munehe. What is night for the unwise people? The Ajnanis is day for a Jnani and vice versa. So I'll just read the last verse. Krishna said that a wise person is as different from an Ajnani as day is from night, meaning that there is no way of unfolding what a wise person is. He also mentions that only a wise person can understand another wise person. Because just like how in the dream, as long as you're dreaming, the knower the known and the object are different. The moment you wake up, they all merge and they become one. So the jnani is in this state throughout, perpetually, even in our waking world, in our so-called ajnani's waking world. The jnani is awake to this knowledge. So for him, there is no distinction between the knower, known, and the object of knowledge. So therefore, for him there is no sadness, there is no happiness, sadness. He is perpetually in that state of Advaita. So therefore, what is day to an Ajnani is night to him, and what is night to us is day to him. So what is night for all the people is day for the wise, and what is day for them is night to the wise. Arjuna was bound to be flabbergasted by this. He was definitely not going to be any wiser for having heard this particular verse. Therefore, out of sympathy and compassion, Krishna followed his night and day example with another example, an illustration that Arjuna could hold on to, and one that would enable him to appreciate in a way what a wise person is. Apuryamānamacala pratishtam samudramāpa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kāmāyam pravishanti sarve sashantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi. Apuryamanam, brimful, achala pratishtam, without any motion or well grounded, samudram, into the ocean, apaha, waters, yadvat, just as, pravishanti, enter, tadvat, so too, sarve, all, kamaha, objects, yam, the one or the wise person into whom, pravishanti, enter, saha, he, shantim, peace, apnoti, gains, kama kami, the desire of objects, na, not. So, just as water flows into the ocean, that is brimful and still, so too the wise person into whom all objects enter gains peace, remains unchanged, whereas the desirer of objects does not gain peace. There are two adjectives describing the ocean in this verse. The first one, apuryamanam, refers to the ocean being totally filled with water. It requires no more water to be full because it is already filled to the brim. The second adjective, achala pratishtham, describes the ocean as not moving from place to place in the same manner, in the same way that a river does, for example. Thus, the ocean is not only full, but being without motion, it is also well grounded. The verse also gives some more information about the ocean. While a pond depends upon a source of water for its existence, the ocean does not depend upon any other source of water for its fullness. It does not depend upon the rain for its oceanness, unlike the rain clouds that depend upon the evaporation of the ocean water for their cloudness. Nor does the ocean depend upon any entry of water. It does not become an ocean because river waters enter into it. Thus, to be brimful, it depends on no other factor, no other source of water. The glory of the ocean, then, is within itself alone. Water enters the ocean from all sides in the form of rain and rivers. But does the entry of these various forms of water bring about any change in the fullness of the ocean? If it does, then we can say that the ocean is not full, that it depends upon other sources for its oceanness. And if no change is brought about by the water entering into it, then the ocean is full by itself. And the non-entry of water will make no difference in its fullness. By itself, then, the ocean is full of water because it does not depend upon any source of water for its fullness. Neither the non-entry nor the entry of water makes any difference to it. The ocean is not after.
Do you want me to read it, Dr. Brahmara?
It's
Looks like
fine,
you're
Dr.
having
Mara.
calls.
Is it clear? Is the internet fine or is it shaky?
That's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. The ocean is not after the entry of water, nor is it afraid of water entering into it. It has no fear of becoming flooded and thereby losing its name ocean. Nor, in order to be ocean, does it covet water. A pond, on the other hand, does depend upon rain or some other water to be a pond. If a pond is dependent upon a particular spring underneath it, for instance, all that is required for it not to be a pond is for someone to put bore wells all around. The water table will go down, the spring will go dry, and there will be no water in the pond. A pond can also cease to be a pond if too much water enters into it. If its banks are broken, there will be water everywhere. No one will know where the pond is unless they are wading in the water and suddenly step into it. Therefore, a pond will no longer be called a pond if there is too much water entering into it or if no water enters into it at all. Such changes are possible for a pond, whereas an ocean undergoes no change whatsoever, regardless of whether water enters or does not enter. The wise person, just as the fullness of the ocean is not affected by the entry or non-entry of water, so too the wise person's peace of mind is not affected by objects that enter the mind. These objects enter into such a person just as water enters the ocean, but he or she is not affected by them because, like the ocean, the wise person is full for no other reason than fullness being his or her own nature. What a wonderful example, no?
We are like that river
Take out
eagerly
two.
wanting to meet with the ocean.
Yeah.
Example, right? One is ocean, the other one is that?
Other one is the pond.
No, the for wise person itself, they gave two examples, right? That's only one.
Yeah, in this stanza, it is the simile is with that of an ocean. So he does not require, like for instance, an unwise person or an ignorant person requires some desire to be fulfilled in order to be happy. Like for instance, the pond, unless there is a water table underneath, or there is some another water source that feeds it, like the rain, the pond will not be full of water. So, unlike that, a wise person is like the ocean, which is ever full. Apuryamanam, it is filled to the brim. Whether or not the river flows into it, whether it rains or not, it is full in itself. Everyone has this sense of fullness, if only for the time being, when something desirable happens. But eventually, the person finds himself or herself not full. A wise person, on the other hand, does not depend on anything for his or her fullness, because the self is already full, like the ocean. The self is ananda, it has no limit. Thus, recognition of the self is the very reason for the person's being full. I am is fullness. I am fullness. If I am fullness, then the meaning of the word I is not found in a limited factor like the body, mind, or senses. Therefore, the I should be understood as it is, and it happens to be Ananda. The wise person is one who is happy without depending upon any object or situation. Like the ocean, he or she is full by his or her own glory, by his or her own nature. The fullness of a wise person, the ananda of the person, is not going to increase because of the entry of some desirable objects. And if such desirable objects do not enter, the wise person does not lose anything. In either case, no change is brought about in the person. He or she remains unchanged. If desirable objects enter into the head of a person who is not full, they create havoc in the person because they have to be gained, experienced, or owned, and there may be no way of doing so. Therefore, the person smarts, sweats, frets, and fumes. When a person looks upon himself or herself as one who is lacking, desires only cause problems. And if such a person is told to give up all desires, he or she cannot do it. Unless one is full, desires cannot be given up. They go away only when the person is full. Even if desires do enter the head of a wise person, they do not create any problems because whether the desires are fulfilled or not, it is all the same to the person. So I think we can use this technique it just occurred to me, I just wanted to share, is when some raga or dvesha is coming up, some desire is coming up, all you have to take is with awareness, go to the fact that just I am. I am. When you tell yourself that I am, that might put a full stop to the onsurge of desires getting into your mind. Or just take your attention to the ocean, and that the self is as full as the ocean, does not require desires to be fulfilled to be ananda, to have happiness, because you are happiness. The demise of one's emotional yo-yo. The word kama in this verse is taken to mean objects. Kamyate iti kamaha. They are desired and therefore called kamas. If a person does not know that he or she is ananda, the person is elated when desirable objects enter and dejected when undesirable objects enter. Whereas for the wise person, there is no difference. He or she is shanti alone, meaning that there is no change in the person whatsoever. The emotional yo-yo is no longer there for him or her. There may be a ripple of laughter or even roaring laughter sometimes, just as the ocean seems to be very ecstatic at certain times and simply smiling at other times. There can be a smile, a laugh, or tranquility. For the ocean, the small waves are its smiles, and the huge breakers are its roaring laughter. If it is not roaring with laughter or smiling, is the ocean gone? No, it is tranquil in its fullness. Therefore, it is the fullness that is laughing, the fullness already being there. It can be a laughing fullness, a smiling fullness, or a tranquil fullness. So, this paragraph will put an end to all, in case we have any judgments about how an enlightened person should be. Oh, he should not laugh, he should not, show his emotions. So, it could be anything. It could be laughing, smiling, or just tranquil. The other person mentioned in this verse, the Kami, is one who has desires. This is not to say that he or she has a desire for desires. No one wants to have a desire for desires. But this person definitely has desires for desirable objects. Into this person's mind also, sense objects enter. The world enters. When the desirable enters, there is elation. And when the undesirable enters, there is depression. In this way, the emotions of the person go up and down like a yo-yo. If a wise person can be likened to an ocean, the otherwise can certainly be likened to a miserable pond that we just saw in the example. When the rains come, there will be water. Provided there is not too much water or too little, the pond will remain. But if it is flooded or all its waters dry up, the pond is gone. Similarly, for one who has binding desires, the entry and non-entry of desirable and undesirable objects bring about changes, which is not the case for the wise person. This verse then gave Arjuna some hope. The previous verse was a real description of a wise person, in the sense that it takes wisdom for you to be wise, and therefore you had better gain this wisdom. This was then followed by the illustration in the present verse, which likened the wise person to an ocean. Let all the desirable and undesirable objects enter, like so much water into the ocean. The wise person remains full, and the Kami does not. Krishna was telling Arjuna here that the one who has binding desires will always have problems, and that by this illustration, Arjuna would know what a wise man is like. Having said this, Krishna then summed up the section on the Sthita Prajna as well as the entire chapter in the next two verses. Shall I go ahead to verse 71?
Yeah, go ahead.
Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumaamscharati nisprihaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantimadhigacchati. Before we go to this, does anyone want to share about shloka number 70?
Basically, he said about the ocean example, right? Like wise person, whether the desire enters, it doesn't disturb the wise person.
Yeah. So the wise person,
And yeah,
not binding desires. They are not binding him.
yeah. But even but yeah, people who are not who are like into karma or having desires, then they get into the problems related to it.
See, I think here the desire is the problem.
Mm.
Whether or not the desire is a binding one or non-binding one is a problem.
I mean, how can we desire to be non-binding then? What a
By
desire
giving up
is
our
can be.
raga and dvesha. See, binding is when you don't have your cup of, sorry, I'm bringing up your cup of coffee again. Once you binding
Okay.
desire is if you don't have that cup of coffee, you
Mm,
become miserable. That is a binding desire.
mm,
As whether or not you get your cup of coffee, desiring
mm,
coffee is a problem. Whether or not you get it, you are not disturbed in your mind. That is a non-binding desire.
okay, got it.
So the wise person is free from the clutches of the raga and dvesha. He is
Mm,
like ocean. Water can come, desires can come, get fulfilled, but he remains unperturbed. And otherwise, unlike the pond, if desires get fulfilled, becomes elated. It's like water filling up by the rain or a flood. Then the pond becomes so elated. And when there is no rain, there's no water, then the pond dries up, becomes miserable. So, unlike that, the ocean remains, whether or not. What beautiful examples. Actually, after this second chapter, we'll give a pause to Bhagavad Gita. We'll go to Atma Bodh once and we'll review all the Atma Bodh shlokas.
yeah, today I had the question about the Dharma, I still felt then where does it go, like this
Yeah,
your body goes, where does it go? Or I know the Atma is same for everybody. So this Karma Sharira is the one which has all this, whatever the karma that Sanchita karma accumulates in that one.
the, the pots and the
But then,
space. Atma
huh?
is ever present. It is like you have, there is space, and then
Uh,
clay, you make a pot. So the space is there outside the pot, inside the pot. Once the
uh,
pot is destroyed, the space remains. It doesn't go anywhere.
anywhere, right?
So
Uh-huh.
the pot is likened to the body, and space is the Atma. So
Right. So
Atma
that description
is
also
true.
is like a space only, right? Like for the it's illumined, it's the light as well as the space. So the space is there, but then again it enters into your body if somebody is having rebirth and things like that.
Yeah, because space is already there. No. See,
Mm,
body comes into being or non-being based
mm,
on so many factors like your prarabdha, ignorance, and everything.
yeah.
As long as you don't realize that you are the space, you continue to become, the potter keeps creating pots.
Mm.
So every
So
birth
then
is,
if you realize that you're Brahman, so
huh,
you have then you don't have any like suffering, right? I mean, so that's so when you realize it, like hopefully,
yeah, we will.
yeah, then the body doesn't matter, but it's just there. The body is going to be
Right,
there
right.
until you
That is
drop.
the Siddha Prajna, no?
Yeah,
That is a Jivan Mukta.
Jivan Mukta. Yeah.
Jivan Mukta
Uh-huh.
is one who has attained liberation while in the body.
Mm,
So
right.
for him, all this verse number 69,
Mm-hmm.
the what is night to a ignorant person is day to him. That is what he experiences.
Yeah, right.
Like how Bhagavan is, no? With respect to Arjuna and Bhagavan and Krishna,
Yeah.
Bhagavan, the Sthita Prajna, is the enlightened person, is the
So in that case, there is no more like this God. Even this chapter 10 that we are doing, all these devas and
yeah, yeah,
gods or whatever, they are all been created by this Brahman.
correct.
So So then there is only one Brahman is the God.
Yeah.
Then why are we going around doing all these other things like karma kanda, which is probably that.
See, I think where did we
Yeah.
read? Did we read it yesterday, or did I read
What?
it in Vibhuti? I can't remember where I read. It is so
Yeah,
beautiful. We read it yesterday, no?
in the
Because
Vibhuti,
the
the
reason why karma is required, the reason why Vedas, I think it was yesterday's only, where if
yeah, we did read
we
something
read
about
it,
in
no?
in
It is
relationship to
because
that.
the
Yeah,
mind is not ready for this Atma
for this
Jnana.
knowledge. Yeah.
So to
So that's
purify the
where the
mind,
karma.
you have to
Uh-huh.
karma, the rituals or whatever, action till
Right.
your mind gets purified, and then the Vedanta. That is why Vedanta is at the end of the Vedas. The Karma Kanda is the first part of the Veda, and then the last part is the Vedanta.
That's so funny. So we always think, why didn't we go to the end in the first place?
Yeah, we want to get double promotion, but we have to go through the we have to go through the stages.
You're getting in the end first before that
Right.
part. Well, good.
So that is why. And Vibhuti Yoga is all about the manifestation, the Prakriti aspect of the Purusha. It's all about the creation. So once you realize the Atma, then you are the Vibhutis. You are each and everything that the Bhagwan is saying he is. So you become.
He is everywhere in, like in all beings, he says, right? Like
Where
even
is he
that,
not? He just picked and chose some things, but where is he not?
somebody was
Yeah, but
talking about that worm
prominently,
story.
Dr. Mara, you must have
Yeah.
seen him in pillow and the bed yesterday, right?
What?
Yesterday.
I didn't get it. Say again.
Yesterday we were late, so you must have seen him in your pillow and the bed. I said,
I am in bed already because my time, I don't have any energy after 9 o'clock. I just lay down in the bed because, that, I was almost like I was thinking about, when I go to Chennai, I go to the temple. This temple in, at the end of that night, they sing. I know they call it as Palli, Palliarai thing. It's like I don't know what you say in your language, but it's more like a lullaby. Like
It is a lullaby. Yeah.
yeah. So you do those things. That's what I remembered yesterday.
So this is like that for you now.
But I was reading, okay, I'm listening, okay, all this about God.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the globe. So I
Right.
have a Suprabhatam, but for you it is the other
Suprabhatam,
way.
I have lullaby. That's it.
I'm reminded of the beautiful example story that Swamiji gave with respect to darkness and the sun god. Light and dark cannot meet. Night and day cannot meet. And what a beautiful example he gave.
Yeah,
In
the
that,
Surya chasing the
wanting,
stars,
Narada tells
wanting to
him,
find the darkness. Yeah.
where would you find darkness on earth? So when he
So
comes
you
to the east, darkness goes to the west.
You know how Narada, everybody when Narada comes, they're a little bit scared. So what is he gonna do? He always says something.
He's the prankster. He's the
Yeah. It's so funny. This Rukmini Bama, he bring one flower and give it to them and make a big drama about it.
But without him, there is no Puranas, there is no, you know, He is the one who has weaved the web of all these.
So he doesn't need any passport and visa to go to any loga anytime he
Right.
wants to.
He has cosmic passport.
Yeah.
Cosmic visa.
And that's why that's about this.
So, vihaya kamanya sarvan pumams charati nisprihaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashanti madhigacchati. Yaha, the one who, puman, person, sarvan, all, kaman, binding desires, vihaya, having given up, nisprihaha, devoid of longing, nirmamaha, without the sense of mind, nirahankaraha, without the sense of limited I, charati, moves around, saha, he, shanti, peace, adhigacchati, gains. Having given up all binding desires, the person who moves around, devoid of longing, without the sense of limited I and mine, gains peace. The wise person is one who has given up all binding desires and who moves freely in the world. Whether the person is like a king, is a king like Janaka or a sannyasi like Shankara, there is no difference in the freedom of the person. The longing for this or that is gone because the person is happy with himself or herself. There is no more longing for situations in order to be secure and happy. Therefore, the sense of mine is no longer there. Such a person does not have this kind of attachment to anyone or anything. People hold on to certain people and certain objects and look upon them as mine. They are like children who say, "Do not touch this. Do not take it away from me. This is my toy." The only difference between the mine we had as children and the mine we have as adults is that the toys have been replaced with other more sophisticated objects. In fact, we are nothing but bearded grown-up children. The mineness never goes. Only objects are replaced. Thus, with reference to a few things and people, we say, "This is mine." There is no I or mine. However, when I see that the whole thing, everything, is myself alone, everything changes. I am the father, the mother, and all the places. When everything is myself, there is no mine. Mine means that yours, his, or hers are also there. These are the reasons for all your problems. You become small in your own eyes. When I and mine are no longer there, because you know I am all of this, you are wise. When you say I am all of this, the sense of mine is gone. The I sense is also gone because when everything is me, there is no I. People think this is vanity, but vanity only exists when you are small. When you say I am everything, there is no vanity. Vanity is only with reference to comparison and pride. When you take yourself to be this much, there is quantifying in terms of your possessions, your capacity, your skills, and so on. Then there is ahankara, ego. But when the ego is bloated to such an extent that I am everything, there is no ahankara at all. There is only reality, knowledge, Brahman. Ahankara is nothing but a notion, the I notion. When the reality is I am everything, there is no ego. Ego is only when you compare yourself with another person and say, he does not have as much as I have, is ego. But there is no other person at all. All that is there is me. There is no ego, no doer. There is only aham, I. That I am a doer is a notion, whereas I is the self. Therefore, the person under discussion in this verse is one who has no I or mine sense, because everything is himself or herself. If everything is oneself, where is the question of having a desire? Knowing this, then, the wise person has no binding desires. So the small I becoming the big I, or the expanded ego, is what is talking about here. How a wise person lives in the world. The use of the word charati here is very beautiful. The wise person does not run away from the world. Where would he or she go anyway? Having given up all binding desires, such a person continues to live in the world and may engage himself or herself in a variety of activities. But the activity itself means nothing. The person gains only shanti, meaning that he or she never changes. Other people move around because of the pressure of their desires, whereas the wise person is free from such binding, pressurizing desires. People who are impelled by desires will say, "This has to be done. Only then can I be happy." The only difference between a wise person and these people is that the wise person is motivated but not driven by his or her desires. In spite of moving around and being active in the world, there is no appreciable inner change brought about in the person either by desire or by its outcome. When the world enters into the sthita prajna, the person is shanta. And when he or she enters into the world, engaging in the activities of the world, then also there is nothing but shanti. This was said because of a doubt that can arise here. It is fine to say that the sthita prajna is full, and when the world enters into such a person, it merely resolves into his or her fullness. He or she just sits in one place in this fullness, and whatever world enters into the person, shanti alone prevails. What about the wise person who is active? Activity does not change the person's wisdom. There is no change because there is no doership or enjoyership, no I notion in the person. Shanti alone remains. Let the person be engaged in the world, or let the world enter into the person. Either way, it is the same. Whether he or she is enjoying or doing, there is shanti. When the world enters into the person or the person does something, he or she does not become an enjoyer or a doer. Enjoyership and doership are both negated in the wise person. Although there is a seemingly enjoyership and doership, essentially they are not there. This is what we call badita, meaning that through knowledge, the reality of doership and enjoyership centered on I is sublated, is removed. When Krishna talked to Arjuna and when Shankara wrote his commentaries, there was doership. But neither Krishna nor Shankara looked upon themselves as the doer. Doership for the wise person is just doing. The notion, I am the doer, is not there. This means that the sthita prajna continues to be Brahman. Therefore, Krishna concluded, Esha Brahmi sthiti partha nainam prapya vimuhyati sthitva syamanta kalepi brahma nirvana mrichati. Partha, O son of Partha, Arjuna, Esha, this Brahmi Sthiti, the state of being in Brahman, Enam, this Prapya, having gained, Na Vimuhyati, is not deluded, Antakale, at the end of life, Api, even, Asyam, therein, Stitva, remaining, Brahma Nirvanam, liberation, Richati, gains. So, there are 3 pages. Should I continue or should we leave it for tomorrow? Huh?
Unless you guys want to read. I mean, I like to take off, but then you want to read it.
No, I think then we'll call it a day now. We'll
Yeah.
put a hold here. We'll take this up tomorrow. So we can wind up chapter 2.
72, right?
72. Yeah, the last verse of chapter 2.
So this is the
And-
last chapter.
And maybe what we'll do, like is customary, Nana says, we'll read the Gita
The
Mahatmya.
Gita Mahatmya.
Yeah.
Did you get that the smaller version of Gita Mahatmya?
No, I don't have the smaller version. I'll ask Nana to share it.
Yeah, I
we-
got it in the YouTube video, but then that is not something like like what
The
we
prose,
read.
huh?
Yeah,
Let me
it's
see
like,
if I can get a shorter version. I will ask Nana to share that.
yeah.
And I will also ask him to share the Ramana Maharshi's thing.
Yeah.
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 Brahmana, and the PDF which you share in the morning with
Huh.
Nanaji, that you have not shared, right, in the group?
See, that is a big... No, I have not shared that in the group. But I've emailed it to you and
Okay.
you want me to share that, the verses, you mean?
Yeah, because it's easy to read quickly,
Okay.
and
Okay.
reference becomes easy.
Yeah, I think I shared it in the very beginning. I will
Okay.
share it again. No problem. I will
Okay,
do that.
no problem. Thank you.
So the last one we did was what is that? 71, right?
71 was...
yeah, he's concluding that the Siddha Prajna part.
yeah.
Mhm. So basically, when you realize yourself, you don't you do things, but then you are not you treat everything like enjoyership and the doership not there, but then it's all same for them.
Yeah, they don't have that doership.
Yeah, they do it, but then they're not not considering the doership. So that's what the last one was. Okay.
Yeah, vihaya kamanya sarvan pumams charati nispraha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashanti
Yeah.
madhigachati. They don't have this
yeah.
I-ness and minus, neither do they
For-
have this small ego.
Yeah, that's because they consider everything is they are I am everything. That way you don't have saying this is mine, that's yours,
Correct.
and all that. So that's how it is. That you leave the ahankara. Nirmamo nirahankara. So I keep confusing between Tattva Bodh and Atma Bodh. Did we read the universe and all that creation in Tattva Bodh, right?
Tattva. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Atma Bodh, we only read about Atma.
Yeah, mainly it is about the Atma. But in the Atma Bodh, there are some aspects of Tattva Bodh also that come in. Somewhere in the middle or in the beginning. There is the aspect of Tattva Bodh also.
Like the Panchikaranam and
Yeah,
all that it comes.
Panchikaranam and
But
all
then,
comes.
yeah, I remember that one. Okay. Yeah, I missed that part. I was supposed to. I didn't go
There are,
further
I
when you
think,
guys
71
reviewed
or
Tattva Bodh.
72 shlokas in Atma Bodh. So
Yeah.
maybe we might take 2 days for that to just read the shloka and the meaning. We'll not go into the details of
Detail. Okay.
the thing. We'll just read the shloka and the meaning, so that will be a good revision for us. And
Yeah.
then we'll go on to chapter 3.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvam Krishnarpanamastu. Jai
Thank you
Gurudev.
so much.